Welcome back to the Vandy Sports Podcast. I'm Joey Dwyer here after Vanderbilt's 71-62 NIT win over Yale. Vanderbilt will advance and play Michigan on either Saturday or Sunday. I guess the NIT doesn't know yet. It seems kind of true to character for this tournament, which put Vanderbilt as a 3 seed when it was actually a 2 seed and mixed all those seeds up. But nonetheless, Vanderbilt gets a win in the first round of the tournament and keeps its season alive. Tonight the difference was guard play and effort. Vanderbilt had Ezra Manjon, who had 18 points tonight. Tyron Lawrence had 25. And it looked like Vanderbilt's guard play really just overwhelmed Yale, which is miles better than what Yale had to give. Lawrence and Manjon have just been real difference makers throughout the entire second half. You guys know this. You guys have heard this from me the entire second half, but those guys are the difference makers. And if Ezra Manjon hits shots like he did today, probably an all-SEC guard, if he keeps playing the way he has in other aspects, his speed is just unbelievable. It's hard to stay in front of him, and if he can hit shots like he did tonight, was 2 for 2 from 3 at one point. I don't know if he finished that with those stats, but if he can continue to just get downhill the way he's been able to, and he can add that shooting aspect from deep to his game, he can be a tremendous guard for Vanderbilt. And I think we just saw how good Tyron Lawrence is and how great he can be next year just against teams like Yale who don't have the athleticism or the dogs to stay in front of Tyron Lawrence. The shot making was really solid from him as well. And I think what really ignited Vanderbilt tonight was not only those guys' ability to score, but their ability to get their feet in the paint, get downhill, and make plays for others. It felt like Vanderbilt, even through that 12-0 run that Yale had in the second half, Vanderbilt felt like kind of had this game under control just because of the ability it had to get good shots, and that was largely due to Manjon and Lawrence. Let's see how many assists each had. Manjon had... How am I losing this? Manjon didn't have an assist and Lawrence had 1, but it felt like those guys were real difference makers getting downhill. Jordan Wright had a few assists, I think he had 4, and it felt like Vanderbilt got good looks, got its feet in the paint. Even when those guys weren't assisting to others, those guys were huge difference makers tonight, and guys who really made an impact on this game, not only in terms of what they could do in scoring, but also the way they would kind of started the chain of events offensively. And that's what we've talked about with Ezra for a long time, is just his ability to get downhill and get guys off, get guys on the heels of their feet and get guys out of position. And that's happened throughout the second half. If Ezra can hit shots, that's a huge sign for Vanderbilt. And I think another guy, if he can hit shots, will be a big-time player next year is Colin Smith. At one point throughout the second half, we kind of saw what Vanderbilt's starting lineup could look like next year if Jordan Wright returns. You have Ezra at the 1, Tyron Lawrence at the 2, Jordan Wright at the 3, Colin Smith at the 4, Quentin Malloy-Brown at the 5. Maybe Vanderbilt gets a transfer big, but otherwise, if they can keep Wright, would obviously be a huge addition to an already solid backcourt. And Colin Smith, I think, fits into their future nicely just because of his ability to play a role. Even when Smith isn't hitting shots, can be a nice defender, a nice floor spacer, a guy who gives him some lineup versatility by being kind of that tweener big where he can play the 4 or the 5, maybe a small ball 5 who can shoot it but still has some physicality and can rebound a little bit, but also is that 4 who can space the floor and can also give you some good things at that position, non-scoring wise. And Colin Smith down the stretch here has really hit shots. Tonight the play that stood out with me was when when Smith attacked that closeout and hit that fadeaway over the Yale defender. I think he was one of the more noticeable examples of the athleticism difference in this game. Colin Smith seemed to just kind of overwhelm the Yale guys that faced him, and just a really solid night for Vanderbilt. It felt like they had this one under control pretty much the entire game with the exception of that 12-0 Yale run, that 11-0 start. Obviously got it kick-started, and that was about it for Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt really seemed to have this one in control. Like I said, it seemed to want this one more early on, and I think that's half the battle in the NIT is a lot of teams don't want to be there. A lot of teams just kind of want to pack it up after the NCAA tournament, but you kind of knew with this Vanderbilt team that it's going to keep playing basketball, whether that's in the NIT, whether it's in the NCAA tournament, and they're not going to roll over, and Vanderbilt hasn't done that all year. Obviously wasn't going to do it today, and now going to see Michigan this weekend in a game that obviously won't mean as much as some of the games it's had in the regular season, but will certainly be a test. Michigan's probably got 3 NBA players, team that's just baffling that didn't make the NCAA tournament. Obviously a lot of that's effort and defense, but certainly had the talent to make the NCAA tournament, just couldn't. And Vanderbilt's going to have a really fun game for the NIT this weekend, one of the more fun matchups you could have in the NIT with Michigan. That's a team that a lot of size and physicality. Can really force you into some things you don't want, and Hunter Dickinson's going to be a matchup nightmare for a Vanderbilt team with a depleted front court. Going to learn a lot about Quentin Malone-Brown and Lee Dort this weekend, but I think tonight, again, the big difference, guard play and effort and the flow of Vanderbilt's offense. Just really solid night for Vanderbilt, maybe not the night I was hoping for. I think it was hoping to play in Dayton tonight, or hoping to not have to play till Thursday in the NCAA tournament, but the want level from this team is as high as I've seen a team have in recent memory. Just going in the NIT for the second year in a row, it'd be easy to curl up and roll over. It'd be easy to not come out with the intensity you wanted, especially with not having Myles Stute, who's one of your better energy givers, and I'll talk about him in a second, entering the portal. But it feels like Vanderbilt got out of this one and came into this one with the necessary effort level, treated as a business trip as usual, despite maybe not meaning quite as much to them. It's still postseason play in their minds, and came out and won this game handily. So really nice night for Vanderbilt. Want to touch on Myles Stute as well. Stute entered the portal today, or late last night, I guess, kind of today, kind of not today. Shot 37% from three this year. I think it was a tale of two seasons for Stute. Non-conference play. Was one of the better shooters in the country. Shot north of 45% from three for much of non-conference play. It's a top 10 shooter in the league or in the country for pretty much all of non-conference play from three-point range. Shot under 20% from there in SEC play, though. His defense was fine. It improved year to year, but he's got to hit shots to be valuable. I think we saw in the SEC tournament, I wouldn't say he was a huge liability, but obviously wasn't himself in the SEC tournament and wasn't a huge contributor. Hit a shot here or there. One of them was a big shot. I think it was against either Kentucky or LSU, but overall, Stute just didn't give Vanderbilt much after January hit. Had that one big game at Texas A&M, but like I said, it was this tale of two halves of the season for Myles Stute, and now it's the Colin Smith show. We saw that tonight. The torch has kind of passed to Colin Smith from Myles Stute, and I think it was good timing. Maybe not in terms of what you want to see from Stute, not playing the NIT, but just in terms of giving Vanderbilt's younger guys minutes, giving Emmanuel Ansong some time to play after not playing much this year. I think Stute not playing the NIT is kind of a glimpse into the future. I don't think he was going to be a part of this team next year. It was kind of a surprise to see him enter the portal, but I guess maybe it shouldn't have been, considering kind of his production the last few weeks and kind of the young guys Vanderbilt had behind him. Have J.Q. Roberts coming in next year as well, who will probably take some of those minutes. But Stute, I think, is a guy who could be valuable in the portal this year. Just a guy who can hit shots at a high level, can space the floor, has good size at 6'7", and his build is really solid as well. So that's a guy who could be a nice chess piece. I had a friend in the fall who thought he could be kind of like a Jacob Grandison going to Duke, transferring up, even though he didn't have a great year. I think he could have been that kind of guy if he had shot a little bit better, shot into the 40s. He certainly could have been a guy who maybe transfers up to one of the more prestigious programs, but now Stute, I think, will get some Power 5 interest, will be an appealing player in the portal just because of that shooting ability and because of kind of the floor spacing he can give you, and just the set shooting ability, as well as the size and the defense. I think he could be kind of a nice chess piece if somebody can take advantage of him and be a good fit for him. And if there's guards who can create and guys who can help him out defensively, certainly could be a guy who fits on a team that's maybe even better than Vanderbilt. So Stute obviously didn't have the end of the career that he wanted at Vanderbilt, but was a nice piece for them early in the year. It was a nice piece for them in past years, was one of the keys to their success last year. Was a really nice fit with Scottie Pippen, and I almost thought that his success would have been a little bit more with Ezra Manjon and Tyron Lawrence kind of emerging and being more downhill guys, but Stute couldn't quite get that in the second half of the year and ended up hopping in the portal, but was Vanderbilt's probably most consistent player in non-conference play, at least through probably the first 10 games, and then kind of just fell off as other guys emerged. But that happens in college basketball. Myles Stute is always a good guy for us to interact with, and will certainly be a guy getting some interest. But Vanderbilt beats Yale after Myles Stute transfers, and will face Michigan this weekend. And again, there'll be a nice litmus test for Vanderbilt to see how it deals with that physicality. Seen a lot of signs for next year already, and we'll see more this weekend. So I appreciate you guys watching. I'm not sure if I'll be at that game. I don't know if I'm going back to Nashville on Saturday or Sunday. If they play Sunday, I'll definitely be there. Saturday night, I'm quite as sure, but really looking forward to seeing that game, and we'll talk to you guys later. God bless. Peace.